Hello, hello, hello. What's happening, everyone? What's going on? Good to be back with you. Feels like it's been a while. Feels longer than a week. Longer than a week. So how's everyone doing? I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. It's been a long week. How about that game? Good grief. Talk about frustrating. That was difficult to watch. Very difficult to watch. But, same story as last time. Same story as K-State. It was offense disappears. Have a couple of very costly turnovers at the same time that the offense disappears. And, you get what you get. I think we're just lucky that Iowa State ran out of time. But, yeah, it was rough. Hard watch. What do y'all think? What do you think, chat? What do you think about Iowa State? I thought they played pretty good. Pretty good game. I mean, the one crazy turnover. I mean, most turnovers are fluky. That one that Jalen Hurts threw was ill-advised, I will say. Jared Smith, what's your confidence level going into Saturday after the second half debacle last week? I don't know. I'm pretty confident. I can't imagine that this inconsistency from the offense is going to, become the norm. I can't imagine that being the case. I may be wrong. But Lincoln Riley has, that's been his calling card, is consistency and efficiency. That's been, what he has hung his hat on. And so I can't imagine that continues. It may, for all I know, it may. But we'll see. I'm pretty confident. What do you guys think? What do you think, chat? What's your feeling going into Baylor game? It's a different kind of Baylor. It is a very different Baylor game. Usually we are used to a high-flying, all balls to the wall offensive display from Baylor. But honestly, they're more of a defensive team. They really are. They're good on defense. They're very good. So we'll see. We will see. Tom will be joining us shortly. I know we're getting started a little later than usual, but you know, it's been a crazy day. Crazy day. Jared Smith, I feel pretty confident, but I'm interested to see what Riley's game plan is with the running backs since Sermon is now out for the year. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Brooks had a good game against Iowa State. And Ramondre Stevenson has just kind of disappeared. Well, I mean, he's not the only back that's disappeared, but he's kind of disappeared. It's been weird. Usually, Riley loves to make use of those running backs, especially late in the game when you're up 28 points or whatever. God, frustrated at that game. That was a frustrating game. Very, very frustrating. But, you know, I think Oklahoma fans have to, need to kind of just, at this point, accept that Jalen Hurts is part of the running game. And, rightly so. He's a good back. He's a good runner. He's not like Kyler Murray in as much as, he's just the fastest guy on the field. But he runs like a back. He runs like a running back. He makes cuts. He makes people miss. So. We'll see. We'll see. I think it'll be good. I mean, the offense can't disappear again. I mean, that's for sure. The offense can't just take 30 minutes off like it's done the last two games. The offense can't give up fluky turnovers like a fumble from CeeDee Lamb and a bad interception from Jalen Hurts, or, they just can't afford that. They damn sure couldn't afford it against Kansas State, and they probably couldn't afford it against Iowa State. But like I said, I think Iowa State just ran up against a wall. I think they just ran out of time. And then, got lucky. We got lucky with the incomplete pass / interception / Brock Purdy didn't throw it to the open man. 2-point conversion at the end of that game. So, it'll be interesting. But if the Oklahoma offense disappears again, I don't know that they get out of Waco with a win, but we'll see. I mean, Oklahoma, I think, is definitely the better team, but we'll see. Chief Gaming, the man, the myth, the legend. Are you the man, the myth, the legend? Am I? Is Jalen Hurts? Is Lincoln Riley? I think if anybody is, it's Lincoln Riley. Glad to have you in the chat, though. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, Chief Gaming. Glad to have you in the chat. We plan on talking about OU Baylor. Plan on talking about what size playoff is 8 teams better than 4 teams, and we're gonna get into the turnover drought. What has happened with the Oklahoma defense and their inability to recover turnovers? We're going to get into that. Like I said, Tom should be on the way. But, in the meantime, chat, what do you got? What are y'all feeling? What are y'all thinking? What are y'all thinking for the game? This game, the Iowa State game, what are your deepest concerns with OU football at the moment? I'm interested to hear this. I mean, to me, it's the inconsistency in the last two games with the offense that is concerning. Hopefully, that does not become a regular thing. Hopefully, that is just a fluky couple of weeks, but it was not good. And I mean, it's not unprecedented. I mean, Oklahoma disappeared. Oklahoma didn't show up for the first quarter against Alabama. If they had showed up, they would have won that game. But I think that was that first glimpse of Oklahoma's offense just ghosting, as the kids say. Absolutely ghosting. And, like I said, Baylor's a good team. They probably shouldn't be undefeated. They got away with a few that they probably shouldn't have won. And there's one definitely that they definitely should have lost. But, that's the way it goes. That is the way it goes. The crazy thing is just how impactful those turnovers have been the last couple of weeks, the last couple games. I mean, they just absolutely could not have come at a worse time in the game. Forensics is cool. Score prediction for the Baylor game. I think Vegas has it as about a 10.5 point spread. I think it's probably about right. I'll probably go 42-31, maybe. I'll say 42-31. I think that's just about right. I mean, I think Oklahoma offense is going to get theirs. I mean, even with the Oklahoma offense just disappearing for large chunks of the game, they still scored 40 in both the last two games. So, they're going to get their points. So, I don't know. Oh wow, this is incredible. Iowa State is 5-4 on the year, and their losses are to number 20 Iowa, number 13 Baylor, Oklahoma State, and number 10 Oklahoma. And they've lost by a combined, in all four of those games, combined 8 points. That's incredible. That's an incredible stat right there. Well, what about you, chat? What do y'all think the Baylor game is going to be? Score prediction. How do you think the defense will fare against Baylor's offense? Probably about as well as they did against Iowa State. Hopefully it doesn't come all at once, but yeah, I would say probably about the same. I mean, the defense is kind of taking a setback. Not just with the the incredible 5 straight games without a turnover, which is just wild. But yeah. What is the worst OU has beaten Baylor? Ooh. I can't imagine. I imagine that's probably a lopsided victory, for sure. Uh-oh. Do I hear a Tom?
I think you do. I think so.
Hey, what's going on, Tom?
Oh, not a whole hell of a lot. Heard there was a little chat going on and thought I'd jump in and say hello.
Nice. Well, hello. And welcome.
Well, thank you, sir. What's going on in here?
Not a whole lot. We're talking a little bit about the OU Baylor game.
The largest margin of victory by Oklahoma is 49.
I honestly thought it would have been more.
That was back in 2000.
Feels like after the K-State loss, the defense lost all of its confidence. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, especially with like tackling and almost like second guessing themselves on, pursuing the ball. You know what I mean, Tom? Like they seem a little. Well, they seem like last year.
Tentative. Like I think one of the things that we saw early in the year that everyone picked up on, everyone liked, and everyone thought was a big point of difference between this year's team and last year's team was just the aggressiveness, and that aggressiveness has just kind of disappeared over the last couple of weeks. Where it went, I'm not exactly sure. But I think when you kind of fall back into old habits, I think old habits die hard, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, still the thing is the defense is still leaps and bounds better than it was last year.
Yes, absolutely. Especially on third downs, allowing touchdowns in the red zone, like those kinds of things. Even allowing red zone trips. There's a lot that's way better than it has been. Up, Doc. Boomer sooner.
But yeah, no, I mean, you've shared some charts with me, and I think you may have put them on Twitter. But the success plays, the offense. I think another thing is we're seeing the defense more in the last couple of games because the offense is just not showing up for 30 minutes at a time.
Right.
When you're out there more, there's more opportunities for these misplays to happen. You're playing more plays. You're getting more tired. You're getting worn down. And when you're tired and worn down, the fundamentals lack. Well, when you don't have the fundamentals, tackling is probably one of those first things to go.
Woo! Thanks for the subscription, Up Dog.
I just put into the chat something that Gabe Eichert tweeted yesterday. It's from Sports Source, but it's a chart of Oklahoma's defensive profile, and it compares. Let's see here, last year or this year's team to the team performance for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I really like those charts to begin with, just as a visualization. It's like the more it really shows off deficiencies, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those you look at it and you think what you've seen,
Mm-hmm.
eye test kind of thing, and you look at this chart and you're like, oh, maybe I was looking at this all wrong. Maybe it was this thing where they're lacking,
Right.
or maybe this is actually a strength kind of thing.
Yeah, it gives you a relative sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like it. Updoc says, salute to all the listeners. Great audience. Awesome. Well, thank you. Thanks for doing that. That was good. But yeah, I love those charts. I actually made one of those charts for my job the other day. It was pretty great.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, it was pretty great.
So let's talk about turnovers. 5 straight games, Tom.
I'm just gonna sit here. I'm just gonna let you go.
5
I feel like
straight games. That has
a wise man once told me that they were random.
They are.
And
they
all
are.
this is just noise.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
So 5 straight games. I could only go back to 2000, but Oklahoma had never had 5 consecutive games without recovering a turnover in that time. Even further, in the last 24 games that Oklahoma's played, they've only recovered multiple turnovers 4 times. In the last 24 games. That is not the norm. But it is, so there's a few things going on here. One, random stuff is fluky and it can be streaky. You can go on big streaks. I mean, there was a streak in 2002 where Oklahoma went 14 straight games where they recovered 2 or more turnovers in each game. 14 straight. From the late 2001 to 2000 or through 2002. There was a point in 2012 where Oklahoma went 3 straight games with no turnovers. Then 3 straight games with 3 turnovers. They recovered 3 turnovers in each. And then the next 3 games, they only had 1 turnover. So, streaky, weird, it's crazy, it's fluky. And, there's all sorts of evidence to this. Like, I think we talked about it over the last decade. 79 teams have been in the top 10 in turnovers. 79 different teams have been in the top 10. Crazy stuff like that. But I was looking into it today. It's kind of interesting. Turnovers as a whole have been declining over the last 20 years. So they reached a peak in about 2002 over the last 20 years at the average team in college football had recovered about 26 turnovers.
Do you have these broken down by what kind of turnover, whether it's an interception or a fumble?
I do. Actually.
Do you count turnover on downs?
No.
Okay.
No. These are fumbles and interceptions. And what's interesting is I thought that probably fumbles would be about the same because they're a little more fluky. And interceptions might be going down with the rise in, passing efficiency and, just kind of the rise in quarterback play. But that's not really the case. They're both kind of going down similarly. So turnovers overall had a peak in 2002 of about 26. Last year, the average team had 19 and a half. So we've dropped significantly in overall. Fumbles have gone from a peak again in 2002 at 12, about 12, down to nearly just 8. And interceptions from 14 to about 11. So it's been a steady, gradual decline over the last 20 years as a whole across college football. And, Oklahoma, I assume, as with other teams, is kind of following that that path. I think it might just be hitting Oklahoma a little harder than it's hitting other teams.
Other teams haven't just fallen off a cliff.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about another streak. In 2014, 2015, Oklahoma went 11 games and had 7 turnovers across those 11 games. They had 12 in the next 4 games. So, like I said, again, just another instance of they just cluster together. I was on the podcast with John Hoover earlier, and I told a story about iTunes when they originally made the shuffle, functionality for iTunes. People complained because they said, it's not a real shuffle. You're not randomly picking songs. You're like putting them together, based on some algorithm, trying to guess what I might want to listen to next. Which was not the case. It was an actual random generated song next. But human beings tend to, one, underestimate the likelihood of streaks in random outcomes, and 2, they tend to put too much importance on the patterns that they do find. So Apple ended up having to deliberately code in their shuffle to be less random to make it seem more random to listeners.
That's insane.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where this is probably just a bad, unlucky streak for OU and the OU defense. At the end of the day, we want to read into these 5 straight games. We want to read into that as, hey, this isn't random. There has to be an explanation for this. When, honestly, it probably is just a bad luck streak. And, all that to say, I'm not saying that Grinch's philosophy and trying to get turnovers is bad. Branch Rickey said, luck is the residue of design. You gotta be trying for turnovers to get lucky. You gotta put yourself into position to get lucky if you're gonna get lucky at all. So
yeah.
So by all means, keep trying for turnovers. Keep trying to, jump those balls and be in position. And after a while, it'll come up your way.
Well, I think something that I haven't heard much talk about. Do you remember the Texas game?
Some, barely.
Oklahoma recorded 9 sacks in that game. Since then they've got 1.
Wow, that's incredible.
Since then they've got 1, and I think that was another another point that a lot of people were kind of leaning on was early in the season you were getting that big pass rush from guys like Gallimore and Ronnie Perkins. With them being in the backfield constantly, the defensive backs weren't having to cover as long. Uh, just general disruption there. So
Yeah, that's interesting. And now it doesn't help that Kenneth Mann's out.
no. With those two injuries, I imagine we'll probably spend more time on Sermon. What do you think Oklahoma's going to do with their backfield now that Sermon's gone?
So Jared Smith, I think, asked this question a little earlier, and honestly, I don't know. I would have thought that the same old game plan would have held the last few weeks. Lincoln Riley's tried and true, run a couple guys out there, pound the football, and at the end of the day, when you're up 28, 21, 28 points, put a pair of fresh legs in there and, just run over and over and over again. But,
honestly, like, we've already seen life after Trey Sermon, and it's been the last couple of weeks.
yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, exactly.
It seemed that Stevenson is more than capable of coming in and kind of taking his one rep per game. But
Crazy.
if they're gonna get back into this, they're gonna need to lean more on the running game, and they're gonna need him. They're gonna need a lot out of TJ Pledger probably. And maybe you slide Pledger into that number 2 kind of spot. Kenny Brooks is the starter, head and shoulders now above everybody else on the depth chart. But you give Pledger those carries that would have gone to Sermon and save Stevenson as your fourth quarter closer back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's been crazy to see just how they've just gotten away from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange. Updoc says, saw the stat the other day, OUD averaging 5.28 yards per play, tied 5.29. OU average total offense ranking of opponents 63.8, tied 55.6. Couple things. Average rank is no bueno. That's not a good thing to do. 2, yes, it is crazy to see OU and Alabama kind of allowing the similar type of efficiency numbers. But I will say at the end of the day, when it comes to opponent adjusted metrics like SP Plus and FEI and stuff, the Tide defense still holds about 10 or 12 spots, maybe a couple of them even more, on the Sooners as far as defensive rankings and ratings. So it's interesting for sure.
If you could see my face now, you would see my surprised face.
Yeah. It's interesting, but I don't know. It's one of those things where, yes, that paints part of the picture, but there's maybe a bit fuller picture to be had or to be seen, and honestly, at the end of the day, that's what advanced things like SP Plus and those kinds of metrics, that's what they do at the end of the day. That's what they're there for. Is to kind of paint that picture a little more clearly. in my opinion, Jalen is the team's biggest problem right now, which maybe isn't a bad problem to have, but still, damn son. Um, I don't think he's like a greedy player. I don't think he's after stats. I think he just is that confident in himself, and it's like, you know, what is um, what does Gene Hackman say in The Replacements? Winners want the ball when the game is on the line. He's like Jalen Hurts is Gene Hackman and Keanu Reeves.
Wow, that's something. That's something to think about right there. No, Jalen Hurts isn't the problem. Last couple of games, that last game, he made some ill-advised throws. But, still at this point, like, I still think the biggest problem is that defense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too.
And I think part of it is Oklahoma fans got spoiled watching Baker and Kyler play the way they did, where they weren't, putting the ball in jeopardy the same way. Because that's been the last 4 years of Oklahoma football, is watching those guys play, and they were pretty damn good at protecting the thing. And so, when you see a turnover here or there, or when you're essentially hitting the defense in stride, yeah, I can see where you're a little concerned. But again, there are bigger problems on this team than Jalen Hurts.
Yes, I think so too. Like I said, I don't think it comes from a selfish place. I think it comes from he's a gamer, and he's gonna. This is the kind of the same conversation we had about Baker Mayfield in like 2016, right? You remember when he came out after that, in that second year, he came out and he was almost trying to do too much.
Yeah,
he was trying to extend plays too far. He was, in the end, getting into trouble. And so it's almost a similar thing, I think.
No, and maybe he feels that he has to do that the way the defense has shown the last couple of weeks, and it's looked like Oklahoma's gonna have needed to score on every possession. And so, like you said, it's a trying too much, trying too hard, trying to fit it in a window that, the window doesn't even exist kind of thing. So, I mean, like, if we're getting pissed at a guy for trying his damnedest, then, I think we've got an okay guy leading the offense.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Just jumped in here. You think OU money line is a safe play? I put money on a little baby parlay, the over and the money line. So I'm gonna go ahead and say yes.
If you're
looking
to throw your money away, then yes, take his advice.
Fade Blinkin.
I shared this with you earlier, and I think just looking at some lines and just some bets, I'll throw some money around here and there, not too often. Some dude bet $5 on Rutgers straight up to win $1 billion. Do you remember what it was exactly?
Yes, it was Southgate, the Southgate Casino Sportsbook.
South Point.
South Point. South Point had Rutgers at minus 200,000 or something.
Plus
200,000. Plus 200,000. Guy put $5 down to win what?
Win
10,000. Yeah, 10 grand. Crazy. I put $10 today to on Wake Forest over Clemson at plus 6,500. So
you know, it would be nice for, you know, either of those games to go that way. Just because, like, if Clemson were to lose to Wake or Ohio State lose to Rutgers, we're never going to hear about Kansas State beating us again.
yeah, no joke. Like yeah, I mean, like, not just the, you know, oh, they lost a game, but no one's talking about OU, you know, oh, I can't believe Oklahoma lost to Kansas State. It's, oh, I can't believe, you know, Clemson lost to Wake Forest. Actually, if Clemson, there might be some people out there, if Clemson loses to Wake Forest, there might be some people out there going, you know, see, I told you. You know, see, I told you they weren't like last year. Ohio State, that's going to be crazy. If that happens, that is insane. Somebody Bud Elliott, you know, Bud Elliott on Twitter, part of the Banner Society like group. He saw the picture of the South Point ticket and Ohio State at minus 600,000 or something.
Mm-hmm.
He just posted a GIF of a bunch of dollar bills in a laundry machine, like. I thought that was pretty funny.
Now we've seen. What'd you say Clemson was at? Like 34, 32, 34?
32, 30, like the spread?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the last I saw it was 32.5, yeah.
And the last one I saw on the Ohio State game was 52.
Yeah. 52.
We've seen a 41-point spread in our lifetime. You remember the game?
41?
41 was the spread.
No.
2007, Stanford SC.
2007, Stanford versus USC.
Southern Cal.
I don't even know who would have been. I guess SC would have been favored in that game.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I mean, you know, they have ups and downs.
Stanford, the previous season, was 1-11.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. This is the head coaches in that game. Jim Harbaugh and Pete Carroll.
It must have been early in Harbaugh's like time there.
Apparently, it was on a television channel called Versus, which is now NBC Sportsnet.
I remember Versus. Holy shit. Omar G. I assume that's how you say that. I put 6K on OU last weekend and I almost died.
Oh my god.
So I'm a little weary this weekend. Yeah, I would be too. We talked about it earlier. Like, who knows if Oklahoma's if Oklahoma's offense disappears for 30 minutes like it did the last two games, Oklahoma doesn't come out of Waco with a win. I don't think that happens. But does the offense just ghost like it has? I want to say no, because Lincoln Riley has been, you know, that's like kind of been his calling card, is consistency and efficiency, right? So I want to say no, but I don't know, honestly, at this point.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and that includes his $6,000. Almost, I guess.
Yeah,
that was Harbaugh's first year there, by the way. First year at Stanford.
Nice. Yeah, I got in on OU. I think the money line was at 350, minus 350. and the over-under was 67.5. I was like, psh, they're crushing that easy.
Well, I mean, last week in the Baylor TCU game, they went to overtime, tied 9-all, and they ended up hitting the over in that just in the overtimes, or because of the overtimes.
Yeah. I feel like this Baylor team is more lucky than good, but I've also not watched a whole lot of Baylor ball. Baylor is pretty good, but Baylor has been hella lucky. Like, to the tune of officials called a game that Baylor won that they should not have won. So,
I mean, they needed a couple overtimes to take care of TCU. They beat West Virginia by 3. That non-conference slate is less than inspiring.
yeah, it's not good. It really isn't.
I think it's probably a combination of they're okay. They're not near elite. They're a pretty good football team.
Yeah.
But things have bounced their way, more often than they probably should have.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like we just mentioned earlier. It was a stat I saw on Twitter. They're almost the opposite of Iowa State. Iowa State's 5-4. They've lost to Iowa, Baylor, Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma by a combined 8 points.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. 3 of those teams are ranked, you know. Yes, by a combined 8 points. You talk about the other side of that luck coin. Ugh.
I mean, somebody's got to come up on the other side, right?
Yeah. I mean, somebody out there has recovered 3 turnovers in 5 straight games.
Yeah, probably.
Somebody's on the other side of our coin.
They're also sacking the quarterback, too.
Yeah.
Something tells me OU wins pretty convincingly, but this game just feels weird.
It does feel kind of weird.
I have felt weirder about games. Like, I'm going into this game, and to me, it's Baylor. I mean, we're going to go in, who's your daddy, take care of business, and we'll move on to next week.
Well, I mean, if any game is going to highlight some of the advantages that OU has, it's going to be a game like this. It's going to be on the road where an up-and-coming team is hosting game day, and there's a big hullabaloo, and it's a build-up all day. And you know what I mean? Like, a lot of these Baylor kids, they're, well, 1, they're kids, and 2, the older of them were on a 1-win team.
Sure.
So, the old act like you've been there before. I don't know that these kids will be able to act like they've been there before. One thing that Oklahoma can say is they have a lot of players, including Jalen Hurts, especially Jalen Hurts, that has been there before. So if there's one advantage there, I think that's it.
Updock feels good about the first half at least. You know what? I'm even gonna roll that back a little. I'm gonna feel good about the first quarter. Ooh,
Texas grad. What the hell?
Someone's infiltrating here.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Glad to have you.
So let's say Oklahoma wins this week.
Yes.
That will move them to 6-1. Baylor will be 6-1. But assuming Texas wins, that'll set up a matchup next week for maybe a play-in to the Big 12 championship game.
Maybe a de facto semifinal type thing, right?
Sure.
It'll be interesting.
Which would be better for Oklahoma? To beat Baylor again or to beat Texas again?
Better for Oklahoma, probably to beat Baylor again. Better for me? What would I rather watch? Well, to beat Texas again.
Okay, which do you... Texas moved back into the CFP rankings this week. Baylor is getting little respect from the committee. Now, what do you think would be better in the committee's eyes based on what we've seen over the last couple of weeks of rankings?
Man, Baylor at 13, like, I feel like they're just waiting for them to lose to just get them the hell out of there, So I don't know.
Things have shaken, like, 2-3 weeks ago, I would never ever expected to see Texas and Oklahoma State ranked, or hell, even Kansas State. Going into that game, but when they put Kansas State at 16, and then they lost to Texas, they fell, but they're still there. They're still in the rankings, and that win by Texas moved them up, which I guess makes the win against Texas better, but the loss worse. Lost to Kansas State worse, and Oklahoma State moved up a spot without even playing.
Yeah.
So, thing I read on the Athletic, one of the reasons that I can't remember, maybe it was Mandel wrote about not writing out the Big 12, and it's going to be not writing off Baylor or Oklahoma, was with kind of these latest moves. One of these teams, if Baylor runs a table, or if Oklahoma runs a table, they're going to have a chance at maybe 4 top 25 wins.
Yeah.
While a Pac-12 champion may only have 1.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I know I saw a couple of places that Oklahoma, like as far as the one-loss teams, Oklahoma has the best strength of schedule going forward, or highest strength of schedule going forward. So,
I mean, they've got an opportunity in front of them. It's not nearly as impressive as some of the championship Novembers they've gone through over the past couple of years. The teams may be the same, but the quality isn't there the way it has been in the past few seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. We made Duggan look like Burrow. Go figure. He also played both of them.
I mean, that's one of those things that Oklahoma can always give out a Heisman to somebody. Somebody's going to have their Heisman moment over the last couple of years. Did you have any problems with or thoughts on the rankings this week?
I think it was pretty clear cut. I mean, it was, I was a little surprised that Alabama was 5 instead of 4.
Mm-hmm.
That Georgia, for whatever the hell reason, is number 4. That was fairly surprising. But honestly, throughout, it seemed pretty, I don't know. It seemed predictable. It seemed what they usually do. Maybe a little more so, in as much as, so they had Ohio State at number 1, but now LSU's number 1. That kind of makes me think, well, maybe they really are kind of clearing the slate and re-ranking every week. You know, they're not anchoring someone at a certain rank. You know,
they're one and they're one until they lose.
Right. So, you know, but overall, I mean, I think it seemed about right.
Georgia 4, Alabama 5. You got the Pac-12 teams, Oregon and Utah, sitting there 6 and 7. And I know we exchanged text messages as that game was going on, and we said, you know, Minnesota's jumping Oklahoma no matter what they do today. Any problem with Penn State being sitting there right in front of Oklahoma?
No, I don't think so.
Their loss is better.
Yeah. Yeah, their losses to undefeated Minnesota, you know, even though the committee doesn't particularly care for Minnesota either. You know, if it was any other logo on the side of that helmet, an undefeated team would be in the top 4 for sure.
Minnesota and Baylor getting little to no respect here.
Yeah.
We've talked about some of these games coming up this weekend. Ohio State, Rutgers. You think Ohio State can pull that out? This isn't a trap game.
No, I don't think so. I think they're pretty safe.
Although
I would love the chance to put $5 on Rutgers.
Yeah, no kidding. Clemson and Wake Forest. Wake Forest lost last week. Clemson safe?
Hope not. But I think that one's a lot closer. I mean, Wake Forest is not a bad team. I think they're just running up against a much, much, much better team.
This one's not getting much talk from what I've seen, but could have major impact on the playoff race. Georgia and Auburn.
That one really could. I mean, if Auburn can pull off a win there, I hate to say that because, you know, the second Auburn wins, the second that the headlines start rolling. Could a 2-win team get it, or 2-loss team get into the playoff? And that's when the rest of the country's eyes roll, right?
The headline, like, it's already out there. Like, I saw that on Twitter multiple times today.
God.
Right now, it looks like Georgia's favored by 3, 2.5, 3.
Wow. I would have thought it would have been a little. The spread would have been a little bigger than that, but Jackowicki, what's up? Thanks for the cheer. Omar G says, "Good luck this weekend, fellas." Thank you. Good luck to you too.
Yeah,
and
double down. Make it $12,000 this week.
On Texas, because I don't think they're winning that game.
All right, for Oklahoma's sake, better that Georgia or Auburn win that game. Auburn.
Yeah. Yes.
Too many damn tabs open.
Yeah, better for Oklahoma that Auburn wins that game, even with the headlines going.
Texas and Iowa State.
Iowa State.
Texas is a 7-point dog in that game.
Yeah, they're not going to win. We've been over it, Tom.
Listen, I'm just throwing things out there. Let's see here. Incarnate Word and New Mexico State.
You know what?
Tickets as low as $4.
As low as?
Yeah.
I don't know that I would fork over $4 to go to that game.
We got LSU and Ole Miss.
Oh, that's gonna be a beating.
LSU 21 right now.
That's it?
Yeah. New Mexico State 7.5, by the way, on Incarnate Word.
Huh. Incarnate Word?
Word. I always like. I think there was a period like I read that as world every day for a million years. I had a friend from high school who went there for some sort of schooling. Incarnate world, what is that? It's like, well,
some sort of schooling.
Yeah, it was some sort of post grad thing. I don't know. I'm not a very good friend apparently. UCLA and Utah.
UCLA and Utah. Utah by... Is that in...
Utah.
I'll say 9.
You're going to take Utah by 9?
Yeah.
Or are you guessing the spread?
I'm trying to guess the spread.
Not quite.
Oh. More than that?
Oh, yeah.
Much more? Come
Utah
on,
by
that's
20.
crazy.
Utah by 21.
No way.
That's what I'm looking at.
You know, UCLA still controls their own destiny in their division of the Pac-12.
You know, and more
They can
power
be
to them.
Pac-12 champs.
Go for it. I wish them the best.
Thanks for the follow, Goat Pajama. Screwtape 405 says horns down. I'll second that motion.
That is allowed here. The motion passes. I think that's what they say. So yeah, you were showing me some reactions to Oklahoma's ranking yesterday. Do you have any personal favorite ones?
The best was the conspiracy theory that went through OU Twitter when ESPN posted the post-ranking article and had Oklahoma's record as 8-2. You would have thought it was the goddamn Illuminati. Like, the tinfoil hats were out in full force last night. It was something to behold.
Another popular topic on Twitter yesterday, and I want to get your thoughts on it. John Legend was named Sexiest Man Alive by People.
Awesome singer. I don't know about that, man.
Not qualified to comment on John Legend being the sexiest man alive.
I mean, no, I'm probably not qualified. I don't know that that's what's stopping me, though. I just don't think he is. I think there's a ton. Like, what is that? Like, that's one of those things where you, like, you know, pay for the survey or something, right? It's like every single car has won a JD Power and Associates something award, right?
The who's who among high school students, American
Exactly.
high school students.
Exactly. John Legend is the who's who among dudes in America. He just paid the most for it. Like I said, great voice, awesome singer, but he's kind of a little furt dude.
Have you caught any of Oklahoma's basketball? It is basketball season now.
Yes, I have caught all but this last game. I've caught up. I think I've only watched one game live, but actually, maybe I haven't watched any game live.
You didn't watch the first one. You didn't watch the first two. Because the first game was on Sooner Sports TV, and that re-aired on Fox Sports. The second one aired at the same time as the football game on Saturday, and last night's tipped off at 10:40.
Okay, So I've watched none live, but I have watched all but this last one.
The magic of technology. Basketball is at our fingertips.
Yeah,
Wherever and whenever we would like to watch it.
that is true.
Personally, I'd like to watch it live and don't schedule it during, I guess, they didn't know, but don't schedule it during football time.
Football time.
What time is it? I don't know. It's a quarter to football. I don't know. I don't know. They always say it's football time and Trae Young is sexiest man alive. Oh, I'm 100% gonna buy the you paid for it when People rolls out that issue.
Oh man, they could not make that cover good enough. Like,
I mean,
they could not sell that.
Maybe it's the sexiest man alive April Fool's version. I don't know if that's a thing. They should do that. Now that I think about it, that was
sexiest man alive asterisk, and then like several spaces down the page it says asterisk, basketball moves.
Oh yeah.
Trae Young, sexiest basketball moves.
Yeah, that's something.
Did you see that? Did you see the two videos from last night?
I saw one at least
where he went through that guy's legs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's been having himself a hell of a season.
Yes, he has. And this is after arguably rookie of the year caliber season last year.
Mm-hmm.
My only thing was, where has this been? Would have been nice, Trae Young. Would have been nice. Jacket Wiggy. Steve Buscemi is pretty hot.
Ooh, all right.
Steve Buscemi must have you on his list.
Okay, so you know how we're always looking for off-season content? I think we found it. Put this one in the content bank for later.
Yes.
Blinkin Riley presents Sexiest Man Alive. Hit your newsstand February.
February? Are we going to be that deep already in February?
The season doesn't end until like the 13th.
That's what I'm
January.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
You saying that's too early?
Yeah, we're not going to have to get to like that kind of content until at least May.
Well, that's when the swimsuit issue comes out.
Well, then we can just, piggyback on that type of thing.
Oh man, we need to really find our own content. Everyone else is
sexiest Big Lebowski cast member.
Man, we have lost control of this.
I mean, that's not a contest though. It's Sam Elliott, and it's Sam Elliott by a damn mile.
I think probably Sam Elliott's probably the answer in any movie he's in.
Yes.
And that includes Roadhouse.
Oh yeah. And Tombstone.
Mm-hmm.
Was he one of the Sacketts? He was one of the Sacketts. If you haven't seen the Sacketts, watch the Sacketts. That's Sam Elliott and Tom Selleck.
Magnum?
Yes. Oh, it's a good one. It's a good Western, for sure.
He played Evel Knievel in a TV movie in 1974.
Fantastic.
His first role was as the Missouri Townsman. It was uncredited.
The Missouri Townsman.
Yep. Not to be confused with like the North Dakota Townsman. They're two very different guys. Anyway, we were talking about basketball there for a second. No, we've got somebody who wants to talk football here. Any chance the defense gets their intensity back in Waco this weekend?
I hope so. I really do.
How Oklahoma's defense got their groove back? Tonight, Lincoln Riley said that Caleb Kelly may travel with the team and that he's getting close to returning. That might be a...
Hell, they need him to.
I don't know if
they missed John Michael Terry.
I don't know if it's going to be this weekend, but at some point, that'll be a real good. I think that'll be a real good shot in the arm. A guy who's played in a ton of games, got a ton of experience. To go back out there and maybe that's the shot in the arm, the kick in the ass that they need.
Let's hope. They need something. I want the defense that everybody was excited about the first few weeks of the season.
Glad you clarified, dude. Like, I want the defense everyone was excited about. It's like with the Selman brothers.
Yes, I want the 2003 defense.
There you go. They're going to get their intensity back, or they get boat raced. It's going to be one or the other this weekend.
Yeah, maybe.
If you were to lean one way or the other, which way are you feeling? Defense gets their groove back, or
yes.
we're looking at a 48-41 game.
So don't misconstrue gets their groove back with not hitting the over on 67. I think they do better. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's going to be 67-0, right?
Yeah.
68-0. Whatever you need for your over.
They'll be better. I'll put it that way. Oh no. Ken Pomeroy. Unbeaten teams remaining. 97. Sorry, Providence.
You hate to see it happen.
Yep.
So I see you tweet something, and then right above that, why you should consider betting on Baylor against Oklahoma. It's a little video here. I can't listen to it right now, but...
Wonderful.
I don't know. If you guys are so inclined, there you go.
Oh man.
They're probably saying specifically they will not get their groove back. If I just had to guess.
Yes.
No, what the hell? Roadhouse only has 6.6 stars on IMDb.
Is that good or bad?
It's out of 10.
That's pretty good.
I guess. Know what I would have given it?
What would you have given it, Tom?
A 10?
Out of 10?
Yeah. I'm not going to be like that guy. He's like, oh, it's an 11. I like this review. Well, there's like Dirty Dancing. The movie always defined Patrick Swayze to me. In his memory, I will watch it over and over. It will be the movie that reminds me how attractive Kelly Lynch is. It will remind me why I like Sam Elliott. It's not art, it's pure entertainment, and why I will always remember Swayze. Besides, it has one of the best soundtracks around. Only 42 of 47 people found that review helpful. Jalen picks over under 1.5.
Under.
I will go with the under as well. IMDb apparently also likes Star Wars Episode 2. I don't know where you land on the Star Wars saga. Or Episode 2 specifically.
Oh, Empire? Episode 2?
That's just what I'm just reading the words that are in the chat.
Oh, IMDb also likes Star Wars Episode 2. I got it. I got you. I see what you mean. Yeah. That's saying, yeah, they also like this other shitty movie.
Shitty movie?
Episode 2? It's no bueno. Yeah, Empire's Episode 5. Yes. And Empire's the best.
All right, so we've gotten off topic. I want to talk basketball. I just wanted to talk basketball all day. For Oklahoma, we're 3 games into the season, 3-0, made the tournament last year, won their first round game, lost to eventual national champion Virginia in the second round. What would you say or define a successful season for this team as?
What would be a successful season? I don't know. I mean, you're asking about OU football, right?
No, basketball.
Oh, OU basketball. Not being 8th. Not
right,
being 8th in the Big 12. Yeah. I think that's a reasonable goal and one that can be achieved. Make the tournament is probably, I would definitely say is a successful season.
Just making it, not even winning a game.
Yeah, don't even have to win a game. Just make it. Just making it as an at-large at like 10 or something.
Christian Doolittle had himself a game last night. 19 points, 16 boards.
I saw that. It's good to see.
He looked phenomenal.
You love to see it.
This Austin Reeves kid, transfer from Wichita State, he's the guy that everyone wanted Matt Freeman to be. Matt Freeman came in and he's like, oh, he's this 3-point sharpshooter guy. I don't think I saw him hit the rim. And not like he's swishing the shots. It's like he's missing shit completely. He's gone. Austin Reeves has stepped in. Yesterday playing 66 minutes. That's a hell of a 36 minutes. But going 5 or 9 from 3.
He put in that extra effort.
Yeah. Devian Harmon, he didn't score at all last night. Oklahoma put up 77 points without their top, freshman recruit guy scoring any points. And I think that bodes well for the team.
Yeah, I think so too. You always want somebody who can distribute the ball,
They've got a little bit of depth this year. I think is something that has been lacking. Kirk Queth only played 5 minutes, but he played 5 of the best minutes anybody off the bench has played for Oklahoma in a while. Knocked down a couple of buckets and rebound, had a steal. I think this team's going to be fun. I don't think they finish 8th. I think they finish higher than 8th. It's just going to be a matter of getting everyone on the same page. And they've got this win on the road. They've got a win against Minnesota on a neutral court. Not that they're Kentucky or anything. We saw how Kentucky played yesterday. But to start your season off with 2 wins against, major opponents. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Monday, they take on William and Mary. It's a little step back in competition, but it gets them back on the court in Norman.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good to see. I'm excited to watch this game that I haven't seen. But so speaking of basketball, there's a TCU fella on Twitter that I like to follow. He's another stats guy, and he has a chart. He calls it a weighted assist network, and I'm gonna drop this in the chat here. It's an incredible. So basically, it maps where all the assists happen, and I think this is an incredible visualization. I think this is really interesting to see. Essentially, it has like 8 or so of like the players that play the most, and where all the assists happen. So they're arranged in a circle, and player 1 to player 2, player 2 to player 3, and the thickness of the line means the more assists happen that direction. I think that's a really, really cool visualization, and I'd be interested to kind of map that throughout the season for the basketball team. I think that'd be a fun little project.
I bet y'all hit this before I joined. Yes or no? Oklahoma wins out. Football. Are they in?
Yes. I think they get in. Other stuff's gonna happen. It's gonna be, especially if like LSU drops one. Somehow like, I don't know how that's gonna happen though. Alabama getting in, like as a shoe-in, I think if Alabama is a shoe-in, then that helps Oklahoma. Just on the cynical side of me, saying that the committee's going to want to put an Alabama-Oklahoma matchup in there.
No, sure. Somebody tweeted out the other day saying, this is the closest we've had to an Oklahoma-Alabama game, Jalen versus Tua. But the way things are looking right now, it happened in the Sugar Bowl and not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think like the biggest problem for that, I think we're under the assumption that Clemson and Ohio State are 2 teams that are there. And then if Georgia beats LSU in a championship game, what do you do with those 3 SEC teams? Alabama, who's just sitting there. Georgia, who just won the SEC championship, they're probably in. LSU beat Alabama, so
yeah, I almost try to like keep from making too many, I think this will go this way, or I think this will go this way. This far out. I say this far out, we're like a month away, but. Even still,
would you rather that they don't do any of these and then just do one on Selection Sunday?
Okay, repeat that. Just get rid of these.
Yeah, like all of the CFP polls, and just do one on Selection Sunday.
Me personally.
Yeah.
Yes. Would that happen? Absolutely not. That is a content generator. The rankings every week, talking about what changed, why it changed, like it drives content. It drives the business of college football. So, are they dumping it? No. Would I rather just have like a selection show at the end of the year? Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, because at that point you're not debating hypothetical conference championships, like they're there. They have been won. You know what everybody has done, and you're not trying to forecast the future.
Yes.
I mean, that being said, like, it's a thing, and we're gonna go with it. So keep asking these questions, and you know, it's gonna change week to week, and like, it's dumb shit like this that makes college football so fun and so frustrating and so awesome and so awful all at the same time.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's frustrating as hell, but that's what makes it, like, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're coming up on an hour and a half. Tom, you have any final thoughts?
The Oklahoma defense gets some of its groove back this weekend. They get at least one turnover, and Oklahoma wins by 17.
Ooh. I like those thoughts, Tom.
Yeah, I like them too. It's one of those things that I hope if I say it enough, I just speak it into existence.
Final thoughts for me would be, I would take a deep breath on the turnovers. The turnovers will come. Exactly, Tom. The turnovers will come. They'll be here. They'll be here. I think Oklahoma wins. I think the offense kind of gets back to its old self.
They get their groove back?
Yes. And Sam Elliott is awesome. So that'll do it for us, folks. Thanks for everybody who came out and joined the chat. Thanks UpDoc, Screw Tape. Thanks to Omar G. Thanks to everybody who came out. We will see you next time.
Yep. Later, guys.